Hi, I'm Adam.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Bernie. We recently used De Bono's 6-hat theory to help us come up with a creative space inside the technical entrepreneurship classroom provided to us.
So we're going to be answering some questions as it pertains to the assignment. The first being, what did you learn about using one hat at a time?
Wearing one hat at a time allowed us to really isolate the problem and view the problem from one specific perspective at a time. And this allowed us to really see the problem from one specific viewpoint, whether it be creativity, from a positive viewpoint, from a negative viewpoint, etc.
And using one hat at a time also helps create a specific environment. So that can take people out of their comfort zone. So if someone isn't normally emotional or critical, it can kind of force the group to engage an aspect of thinking that they don't normally use.
And one other thing is that when we're wearing green hat as a group, it really forced us to all be creative and not so critical, so a free flow of ideas was able to happen.
Along that same vein, the challenging aspects of the hat technique are it's very easy to get off track. It's very easy to criticize or just move away from the hat you're currently on into the one you normally wear as an individual. And so it's very easy to get off topic or critical when you shouldn't be, or creative when you should be criticizing.
And I think one of the solutions that we came up with, and as a group we kind of practiced and found very quickly, was when someone starts to go from, let's say, a red hat to a green hat and kind of jumps the gun, the conversation can really go astray if you don't, as group members, hold that person accountable and kind of remind them that they're on the red hat or they're on the green hat. So, the conversation can, continue to take shape in that color environment, and which can enable the 6 hats process to really work well.
So Bernie, which hat did you like the most?
I personally like the green hat the most because I think that it sparks a side in others that you don't really get to see. They kind of really bring out their creative thoughts and they don't hold anything back because there's no room for judgment. In retrospect, I found the black hat to be the most frustrating because sometimes when you're really passionate about an idea or you have a creative invention you're working on, when you hear people's caution or rebuttal to what you have to say, sometimes it's like awkward, I guess, in a sense. You want to say something back, but the hats don't leave any room for you to respond. So, how about you? What did you have to say for those?
I like the red hat the most. It allows you to really just express your feelings, get every sort of aspect that you see out on the table, and then you can tackle each individual part one by one. So, for example, I hate the rope swing in the room. I think we should move it. Nobody was really able to just attack that viewpoint because that's my emotion, that's my feeling, and it doesn't need justification. Conversely, I also found the black hat to be most frustrating because when you do come up with a good idea in the green hat phase, it can be quickly shut down by the rest of the group.
I agree with Adam. I really liked the red hat. I thought it let us really get our feelings out in the open. And at one point, we all had one idea we thought was good, and Andrew put on his red hat and kind of said that he just hated it. And that was great because it led to a better idea that we then came up with. And the hat I found most frustrating was the white hat, just because it's difficult to have just the facts and figure out what facts you need and stay objective.
Personally, I really like the yellow hat because the yellow hat really allowed us as an entire team view each idea as in a positive light and really see the value of each idea. In retrospect, I really disliked the black hat and found it was very difficult to work with black hat because we really had to look at all our ideas instead of from a positive point of view, from a completely negative point of view, and see the downfalls of each idea and criticize it.
So going off that, I think Adam and Brendan both like the red hat, and have to agree on that aspect. I really thought the red hat and just you kind of overlook the aspect of putting emotions to a physical space, to an idea or anything. So I think that was something different, and with those emotions, it made it a lot simpler to generate ideas based on, I guess you could say, false facting them and turning in the opposite. So as Adam said, he hates the tire swing, so how do we get rid of the tire swing? What do we put in place of the tire swing? Those are some ideas that can come off that. So I like that because it's something you're usually not used to, and your mind just doesn't always look to put emotions to those kind of tangible things. Conversely, I would say I struggled with the yellow hat. I'm not too sure why. I think it was because a lot of the physical, it was more of a design thing. So looking for actual benefits was a little bit challenging, and I think that was something that we had maybe a shorter list for. However, those benefits allowed us to continue on in the process and helped us to ultimately create a space that we're proud of. So moving on, Bernie, do you have what kind of hat? I see you wearing the black hat. Is that something you wear when you're by yourself or in groups?
No, I just put the black hat on. I guess I'd say for the video, but when it comes to groups, I like to keep my green hat on the most. I think just free-flowing ideas, throwing them out there, not setting anything in stone, just getting other people in the group's ideas to flow as well. They could build off of things you say. They could open up their mind a little bit more. If they hear something you say, kind of take them out of their comfort zone. Bring them to an idea they never really thought of before. As an individual, I like to keep a yellow hat on because I think that being optimistic is the best thing you could have. The attitude will carry you such a long way, as we talked about in previous classes this semester already. So I think that if you keep on a yellow hat, it really could drive you towards your goals, and as long as you have a good attitude, you're optimistic, there's nothing really anyone could do to stop you. When it comes to using all these hats as one, I think that it may take some work for me to utilize all of them and kind of not cross-link hats and make them multicolored or bicolored, but in the long run, I think I'll be able to cultivate all 6 hats and use them individually to better get to my goals and be where I want to be. How about you, Andrew?
I think Bernie was spot on with that. I have to completely agree with you. In groups, I usually wear the green hat, where I like to foster open collaboration, no criticism, and a free flow of ideas, where no idea is incorrect nor correct, just a completely free flow of ideas. And individually, similar to Bernie, I also like wearing the yellow hat because I am usually a very positive person with a very positive attitude, and I like to see the value in every idea. What about you, Adam?
In groups and individually, I see myself wearing the yellow hat the most. Like you guys said, optimism is key, attitude carries you a long way, and I always see myself encouraging the ideas of others, really seeing the positive side in what they bring to the table and not necessarily putting them down for what they have shared with us and whatnot. I'd really like to learn to cultivate the blue hat a little bit more, stay a little bit more on task, and make sure that we're sticking to the procedure so that meetings are more productive and I'm more productive with the time that we do have allotted for meetings. How about you, Ren?
Personally, I like using the blue hat when I'm in groups. I like being something of a moderator and keeping track of the conversation and keeping us on task. But individually, I do think I tend towards the black hat. I think I'm a very critical person, and I judge my own ideas pretty harshly when I come up with them. So I'd really like to cultivate the yellow hat because it's the opposite of the black hat. It's very positive, and I think that that's just something that could lead me to appreciate ideas more and also lead me to new ideas, since I'm not shooting down new ones constantly.
I gotta say, me and Brendan are pretty similar. I find myself I try to wear the blue hat in groups because I like to be focused. I like to be directed towards the goal or the objective. I try to get there in the fastest way possible, the most efficient way possible. But sometimes that's not the case. I think individually, I also wear the black hat as, I think a lot of times when you're reflecting on your own ideas, you're kind of biased towards, the ability for it to be successful, the ability that it's well liked, and I kind of try to force myself to use the black hat in a constructive way to kind of look through different lenses and different perspectives to actually see the downfalls in it and the negatives. And the one thing that I find good about that is I can go back and then address those negatives and try to look for next steps and move forward with how I can fix them. But also if the list kind of gets too long of negatives and those ideas, then I'd rather often dismiss the idea entirely, which is something I'm trying to work on and not do as much, not be as critical. Just from this assignment and the exercise, I would love to cultivate the red and white hats. I think I use the white hat a little bit, but not as much as I should, as the information is essential to eventually getting down to that idea, and as well as the emotions.
In terms of moving forward with the 6 hats technique, I think it's pretty obvious that it's a good creativity tool for looking at an issue broadly at the start, but I also think it's a good diagnostic tool for forming groups or moving around in groups. So if you're going through the technique and you see someone really dominates the yellow hat portion, you might be able to see that, oh, they're a very positive person. Or if someone really dominates the blue hat, they're more of a moderator. You can kind of get a feel about what the person likes to do and how they like to function in a group. And then you can also use that and force them to switch to really change up a group dynamic or build a group dynamic that is most efficient.
Just adding on to that, I think also these hats put in place something to kind of talk to somebody constructively. If like, hey Bernie, maybe you're using the black hat too much, and that can allow you to kind of shift back, and that person can recognize we need to be a little bit more open, maybe try to shift towards the yellow, just to make the the conversation or the flow of ideas be a little bit more constructive. So I think that these 6 hats can definitely help there in our education and the whole creativity process.
I think going forward throughout the rest of our education and into our careers, I personally don't see myself using the 6 hats too much. I think it's a great tool for certain aspects of a business or your education in terms of working with teams, but sometimes you only need to use the black hat when approaching a situation, or you only need to use the yellow hat or green hat. And using all the hats together isn't necessarily the goal of the group. But I do see it popping up here and there throughout my career, both as a student and as a professional.